like what piece of advice would you give to someone who's looking at an emerging franchisor, and like what would you caution them knowing like what it could look like on the other side of things?
Yeah, no, it's a risk. I mean, if me myself was buying a franchise, I don't know if I'd buy an emerging franchise brand, to be honest, because I talk with so many people every week who get into brands where they say the business doesn't work, the model doesn't work here, it's not profitable, I'm losing a ton of money. There's no way I can make this work. The marketing strategy they used over there doesn't work over here. And so I think when you're buying a startup franchise, emerging franchise system, it's a lot higher risk. It's not to say that it can't work out. It can certainly. Franchisors have to start somewhere, but it's a lot higher risk. And if you can find an established brand that has 50 or 100 plus units, and maybe that's in that sweet spot where they have a lot of units, but they're not fully developed, and they have a territory that works for you, I would definitely lean strongly toward that established brand because they have that proof of concept. And you can talk to the franchisees and see how well they're doing. If they're doing well, they like the system, there's a proof of concept in lots of different geographical areas. It makes it a lot less of a risky scenario for the franchisee.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, in terms of like just a rough percentage of the people that come to you, like what percentage do you think it is folks that are in a franchise system that has, let's say, less than 50 operating units versus folks coming to you where they're coming to you from a system that has like more than 50 operating units?
I'd say it's probably like at least two-thirds are probably coming from 50 and under, and especially where we see kind of fraud situations or where we would argue fraud, where they told me or put something in writing that something that later turned out to be false. Almost all those fraud situations are in that smaller franchise systems, the 0 to 50. And oftentimes too, that the other thing is they're not as sophisticated, right? So like the sales department might have a salesperson who's making up numbers, or they may not be providing accurate cost disclosures because they don't know what the costs are. We have seen franchisors coming from the Midwest, and they're coming into California or New York, which are higher cost markets, and they don't know what the costs are, and they haven't done the due diligence, and so they give their numbers for opening something in Nebraska, which is not going to equate to the cost to open in California and New York. And so those smaller brands just aren't sophisticated, and so they haven't done their own due diligence in the sense of whether that business works, what are the costs, what are the different metrics in other parts of the country. And oftentimes too, on the restaurant side, which we see a lot of restaurant franchisors, they may not have the logistics set up. They may not have suppliers. They may not have an infrastructure in that part of the country where you can even get all the things that you would normally sell in that system.
If you enjoyed this short clip from the podcast, you can check out another short clip right here. Or if you want to watch the full episode of this podcast, you can watch that here. And remember, knowledge is not power. It's applied knowledge that's power. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.